Hey, it's another one, and it's me again. We're on such a roll, I'm not even changing my shirt. We are talking about multi-track, we're talking about mixing, and in this video, we are going to dive in and talk about just being tight and polishing. And this is going to actually apply to the gaps between clips and the overall volume of clips and the relative volume between different elements in your story. This is a really simple mix and a really simple project that we're making, but it can be scaled up to a 20-minute documentary if you want to, or your podcast that you're making. So please practice this and in sort of harmony with the previous video. Let's get to it. We have our very crude voice report, and it's important that we get, first up, the mix right and the timing right. So these are the things we're focusing on. Let's play it back. Close your eyes and listen. That sound you're hearing is the back parking lot at King's College. All right, so issue number one is I want to establish the scene before the narration comes in. So what we need to do is actually create a little bit of space at the beginning. And the easiest way to do that is to drag something to the right. And then we can actually, I'm going to just take my nav bar that we interacted with in the previous video a number of times. I'm going to squish it over. And much like when you're trying to reduce red eye in Photoshop, or like get rid of that, pimple on your partner's face that they didn't want when you took the perfect picture of them, you want to zoom in because you can be more accurate. It's the same thing with audio. And since we're only using 3 tracks, I could technically grab the vertical nav bar and I could, make this tall. Whatever, get comfortable with zooming in and zooming out, and most importantly, remember where you are in your own story. An element is either before or after where you are, but that's up to you. You will know your material better than you know this material. So if you feel a little bit lost, I will make an effort to go slow and deliberately here. Just know that when you start working with your own audio, it'll feel more natural, and a lot of this will make more sense. Pause the video, go to audition, hit the buttons, squish and stretch things as much as you want. You drop in a recording of your cat, whatever. Fill your boots. So here we go. Close your eyes and listen. So normally what we would do is just establish a sound for a few seconds, and that's a good way to take people somewhere. Audio is theater of the mind. We want to take our audience somewhere where they are presently not, and that's how effective that if you're doing this, you're doing it right. So it takes about 2 or 3 seconds. Usually you'll be like, I should have heard a voice by now. Inversely, you can have a long stretch of sound just for effect, but I'll leave that with you. Close your eyes and listen. That sound you're hearing is the back parking lot at King's College. Paul Robinson is... So one thing I'm hearing is that the wind is sort of overpowering my voice a little bit. Instinctually, you may think, turn up the voice. Actually, we're going to go addition by subtraction. I'm going to turn down the wind and sort of create room for the voice to be more prominent. So we talked about this in a previous video, but each block has a little yellow line on it. There's a blue line actually for panning, but we're not going to talk about that. In fact, you could even turn this off. Let's turn it off, actually. We're going to go window, and actually, no, sorry, my bad. View. And I'm going to hide the pan envelopes. And if you look closely here, you'll see that these blue lines disappear. We're not going to use them, so let's get rid of them so they're not cluttering up our workspace. So let's pull down the volume on this block. We're going to go -9. The human ear has a hard time detecting less than a 3 decibel volume change in amplitude, I guess. So I usually go in multiples of 3 just out of habit. Close your eyes and listen. So one thing, it sounds better underneath my voice, but it's not very loud at the beginning. So we can actually automate this volume line here, and what we're going to do is called volume envelope. it's a volume envelope and we're going to manipulate it. So I'm going to click here and you can see this little blue dot has appeared. That's a node. If I click over here, that's another node, and I can pull this back up to 0, and we've created this little fade here, and this is called a duck. We have ducked the wind underneath the narration. Close your eyes and listen. That sound you're hearing is the back parking lot at King's College. Paul rah. We have Paul's clip over here on the right. I'm out of wind noise. So what I'm going to do is simply, probably the easiest way to do this would be to drag the wind in a second time. And then we can just overlap them a little bit. We're getting a little bit messy now, but this is important. We need to extend the wind all the way over. And then I'll bring my volume down to match the original block. And now we've doubled the length of our wind recording. And I left off in the last video with a mention that I should have recorded more, but that's my fault and I'm going to deal with it. But I've also taken the opportunity to show you a way you can sort of fix a past mistake. Let's hear what that sounds like. He tells us about the value of scenes in audio storytelling.
A scene takes someone there. You want to take someone someplace where they...
Yeah. So let's zoom in and let's get the timing between my voice and Paul's voice just right. Is where he tells us about the value of scenes in audio storytelling.
A scene takes someone there. You want to...
You know what? I think a little bit tighter. So let's, I'm going to hold control and I'm going to roll forward with my mouse. And I will zoom into this area here. And you can see I'm getting really, really precise, really, really tight. Left click. I'm going to drag this back to the left just a little bit. This may seem arbitrary, but I'm going to play it back a number of times and get really critical here. Let's expand this a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at this waveform here and this waveform here. I'm not really concerned with this bit here so much. That's silence. And we, just leave it on. It's fine. The value of scenes in audio storytelling.
A scene takes someone.
Yeah, that feels good. So I'm going to hold control. I'm going to roll back with the mouse scroll wheel now, just like that. And I'm noticing I have a lot of wind that sort of hangs over underneath Paul's clip here. I'm going to wipe that away with something called block edge dragging. So if you put a block in focus, which is a single left click, you can see it becomes a little more vibrant than the other ones. These sort of have like a matte finish on them. If I left click, you can see it brightens up a little bit. So I will left click on the wind, and then I will hold my mouse over the very edge. And you can see my cursor actually changes shape when I go over here. See that? Right here. So I'm going to left click, and I'm going to drag this back. Now, a cool thing about the multi-track environment is that it's non-destructive. I can chop these pieces up as much as I want to using the split function. I can put them over top of each other. I can do this, block edge dragging. The audio files on your hard drive are not affected. Unless I overwrite them somehow, but we're not going to talk about ways to hurt ourselves now, are we? Block edge drag, I just want a little bit, I'll overhang it a little bit, but I also don't want you to hear when the sound ends, just in case the wind behind Paul isn't quite the same as the wind that I recorded. So let's hear what this sounds like, and then we will talk about how to fix it or make it better. And that parking lot is where he tells us about the value of scenes in audio storytelling.
A scene takes someone there. You want to take someone someplace where they haven't been before, and in audio you can...
I heard where it dropped off, but I also may have been looking at the screen. So I should mention, if you see me sort of looking over here, I don't like to see the blocks because I feel it sort of affects my judgment a little bit. You can close your eyes or look away from your screen or whatever works for you, but try it. It may be helpful. On each block, you will see that there are these little gray squares. And if I put this block in focus, they appear. So there's a little square here and a square here. Same thing on these blocks. Square here and a square here. These are linear volume changes. So much the way we've been manipulating the volume envelopes up to this point. I'm going to left click and just drag those off as if they never happen. You can do a very sort of quick and dirty fade if I just left click and drag this. So this is a layer above the envelope that we've been working with, but it's pretty much the same thing. And in this instance, I'm going to left click and I'm going to drag this down. And you can sort of visualize what you're going to hear. I'll let you play with this on your own time, but whatever shape works best for the material that you're trying to mix. And this is all part of the polishing or tightening process. Is where he tells us about the value of scenes in audio storytelling.
A scene takes someone there. You want to take someone someplace where they haven't been before.
To my ears, that sounds way better. I don't like hard edges or elements being suddenly ripped from our ears. That just doesn't sound pleasant. So let's move on from this. We have more timing issues that we have to correct. And here's one right here where
sounds that are naturally within that place.
Where I've adjusted for timing of earlier elements in our story, I've then thrown off some of the timing of these elements. So let's, again, hold control, zoom in with the mouse wheel, and I'm going to left click, and I'm just going to move it over. Let's play it back. Give yourself some lead up time. I'm not playing it back from here. That doesn't make any sense. You can't really tune into it. So let's give yourself a little bit of lead up time.
Finding the ambient sounds that are naturally within that place.
And that little bit that you just heard is called a... Yeah, I think I'm happy with that, actually. I may bring my voice in a little earlier, but just like a hair.
Finding the ambient sounds that are naturally within that place.
And that little bit, yeah, I'm happy with that. And everything that we're doing here is practicing and applying critical ear. You really need to be picky with this. We don't want little weird mouth noises like, kind of thing. You will hear those at the beginning and ends of clips sometimes. We also don't, again, in reference to what we just talked about, we don't want hard edges either. So timing, volume, and sort of like smooth, delicate motions are what we're looking for. So again, here's another example. We need to edit or mix for time because Pauline and I are talking at the same time. So let's move Pauline over just a little bit. Left click for the playback head, spacebar to play it. She says a good clip can do a lot for your story.
So a clip is a segment.
I'm going to just bring her a little to the left. She says a good clip can do a lot for your story.
So a clip.
You know what? I don't like clips that start with so, whatever. Let's get rid of that. So let's zoom in here.
So a clip.
Yeah, this is an easy one. We can, again, left click, mouse over the edge. This is called block edge dragging, just to remind you. And we can just wipe that off, as if it never happened. Lot for your story.
A clip is a segment.
So you can see how powerful this can be. Again, I think there's a volume issue here. She says a good clip can do a lot for your story.
A clip is a segment.
Yeah, she recorded this on her phone, so it's not at the same quality as this microphone here, so she's not as full or robust as my voice, but that's a simple volume change. Where my recording has a lot of body and fullness, and that's just an attribute of my setup. She's a little thin and not as present, but the easiest way to fix that is with the volume change. So I can actually look at the waveform here, and in this case, I'm just going to give her a little bit of a boost, just a tiny boost, and we know how to do that. So we're going to left click, and I'm going to bring it up. Remember, 3 or 6 is probably enough. Let's have a listen. Always edit with your ears or mix with your ears. She says a good clip can do a lot for your story.
A clip is a segment.
And that's good to me. I'm listening. I'm happy with that. So we only have one more adjustment to make, and that is over here on the right. I just need to make a little tweak for time, and we should be done.
Or something more powerful.
If you can set a scene and have interesting characters, rah, rah, rah. I wanted it under 1:10. I'm so close. There's just a little blip over, but you know what? Close enough for today. I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to zoom out full. I'm going to hit the home key on my keyboard. I'm going to take my face off the screen and we are going to listen to this project in its entirety. close your eyes and listen. That sound you're hearing is the back parking lot at King's College. Paul Robinson is a broadcast technician for video at the college, and that parking lot is where he tells us about the value of scenes in audio storytelling.
A scene takes someone there. You want to take someone someplace where they haven't been before, and in audio you can only do that through letting them hear it, finding the ambient sounds that are naturally within that place.
And that little bit that you just heard is called a clip. Pauline Dakin is a professor in the School of Journalism and knows a thing or two about clips. She says a good clip can do a lot for your story.
A clip is a segment of an interview that you choose because it says something in a very powerful or pithy or emotional way about your story. It's not full of information. It's better if it's more full of emotion or something more powerful.
If you can set a scene and have interesting characters, you are well on your way to effective audio storytelling. For The Signal, this is Mark Pinio in Halifax. So that is it. In the next video, we'll talk about exporting. And, I apologize. This is a long one. But I hope there was some value in there. Be critical, be picky, and really examine each transition between each block. Let's just pop back to audition just for a moment. And I mean, from this block to this block, I'm talking about timing. From this block to this block, I want the mix to be satisfying. So we're talking about foreground elements and background elements. And, another thing over here, the clip from Pauline wasn't quite the same level or loudness as my recording. So I went in and fixed that as well. The point is, I really want you to take the care and be really thoughtful, and again, delicate is the word, where you go in and you really make the beginning and the end of each clip really smooth and pleasing for your listener. And with some practice, you should be able to do it as quick as I did. But please don't expect that of yourself right out of the gate. It's going to take many hours. And most importantly to me, I hope you enjoy this part, because I find that the multi-track part is the most engaging and really the best opportunity for you to be creative and have a little fun. So yeah, in the next video, we will export this and actually have a file that we could share with your colleagues. See you in the next one.